Saying goodbye when you go off to war is, I'll see you in about 6 months. All I gotta do is get a quick 100 missions and then I'll be back home. So when our unit was volunteered to go to Southeast Asia, it was kind of like, good, we got to get there because, the war's going to be over quick, and if you want to be anybody in the Air Force, get all those neat ribbons, you better get there quick. I got there in November of 1966 and had flown 113 and a half missions. I was on my 80th mission over North Vietnam, so I was relatively close to finishing up my tour and coming home. At that time, there was a lot of turnover in the squadron. Didn't have enough aircraft commanders to make a strike package to Hanoi that had at least 10 missions. So I said, I'm about done. I know the ropes. Asked my backseater if he says, mind if we volunteer for one more? And he says, let's go for it. Oh well. We were actually shot down in Route Package 6 about 30 miles northeast of Hanoi. Our target that day was the Vu Chu Railroad Yard, one of the main supply routes. There was one northeast and northwest railroads, this being the northeast railroad that came down from China. I landed on the roof of a building, the only building outside a small village. I rolled up on the parachute turbine. I hit the ground, tied up. Now that was very nice because they knew that I wasn't going to fight them then, because on the way down in the parachute, which was a relatively short ride, I was looking down. They were shooting at me. I could hear the bullets going by, but nobody hit us. So landing in the middle of them, there's no escape and evasion, all that wonderful training. Didn't need any of that. Just said, here I am, gift wrapped. But once you survive the ejection process, the fact that there's guys who have big machetes and they cut everything off me, you don't really have time to be afraid, but you're kind of aware of the environment in which you are, just enough to be tense and scared. After they ran me and my backseater, who landed not very far away, after they ran us through a bunch of villages and threw rocks at us and poked us with sticks and beat the crap out of us for a while, then they said, in kind of pidgin English and sign language, now you die. And they took us off not far from where we had been on public display, and they had some bomb trenches there that were set up for any aircraft, places they could go for shelter. But they looked remarkably like graves, little slits. And they put us in front of it, and the guy said, now you die. And they got guys out there with the old guns, and they said, more high, 1, 2. More pictures, more pictures. So, okay. Now you die. More high. Small people away, children back. More high. Then everybody broke out in laughter. It had all been mocked, but they had, for 3 times there, the old heart rate went up, and I thought, yeah, what an end. You get more used to it. I mean, it's like when you're going through basic training. The first week is, the second week, third week, all right, I'm starting to understand the situation here. And you kind of get into a flow and into a pattern and an expectation. There are bad things that happen on day 1. There are bad things that happen on day 2093. But in between, you kind of get into a lifestyle, you kind of get into a pattern to where you say, okay, I can do this. I can do this. You get through an experience like that mentally, knowing that you're not alone. There are other people counting on you. You're not by yourself, and you know that. Even though the Vietnamese kept us basically isolated. I spent 4 years with one other guy in a small room. I know Kevin Joseph Patrick McManus very well. No secrets in his life, no secrets in my life that he didn't know before he passed on. And so, how did we get through it? We just knew that, hey, we weren't in there by ourselves, and other people were counting on us as much as we were counting on them. About 3 days before I got shot down, I was about this far away from General William Momeyer, who was the commander of 7th Air Force, who was the numbered Air Force that was operating in Southeast Asia, that the war was going to be over in about 2 or 3 months. This is June of 1967. Interestingly enough, the first guy I talked to in Hanoi communicating secretly was Navy Lieutenant Commander Bob Shoemaker. And one of the first things that Bob Shoemaker told me was he'd been there for 2 years. So Bob Shoemaker tells me, I have been here for 2 years. I tell him, well, good news, I've got good news for you. General Momeyer says the war is going to be over in about 2 months. You know, almost 6 years later, I said, We were all in the Wallow prison, the Hanoi Hilton at this time, and they allowed us to have a military formation. They had never recognized rank. We'd never had a military formation. We had never been outside together other than in small groups before. So they let us line up. We had senior Americans at the front of us, and they read the protocols. As I said, that stipulated that we would go home in 4 equal groups, about 2 weeks spacing. The Vietnamese expected cheers, rahs, everything else. Boom. We stood there in silence. The senior Americans turned around and dismissed us. We went back to ourselves in silence. Didn't believe it. And in fact, I was with a group of guys who refused to come home for 5 days because we thought it was a propaganda trick. And after that time, after all those years, we weren't about to be used, which to some people may seem odd, you know, that, well, I'll get out of here as quick as I can. But it was a matter of personal honor that until we knew that the war was really over, because we didn't believe anything the Vietnamese told us, until we knew that the war was over and it was a legitimate, honorable release, we weren't going. When that airplane broke ground, people got excited. And then as we got outside the international airspace of Vietnam, it got exciting again. Because that's really the first time we thought, okay, this isn't a dream. It's not going to go and all end here in a minute. But we really are free. But it was emotional. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay the significance of the day when they told us, but it really was, we had gotten into a lifestyle, we'd gotten into a routine, we had returned with honor, and that was paramount. In some respects, you know, the best thing that ever happened to me was getting shot down. I don't know that I needed 6 years as a POW to make all the things happen, but the things that have happened in my life because of, as a result of, after, are almost storybook. I mean, I couldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. I salute the service of the young men and women who are in our Air Force today. They're professional, they're capable, they're competent, and they really do represent all the good things that our nation has. And I'm so proud. I've got 2 kids, 2 of my 4 kids are in the military. They're both married to people in the military. I couldn't be more proud.